before we start, yes, I did dye my hair back because did you know in New York City, it's upwards of $350 just to dye it one color. Today, someone suggested I do the tutorial on these pants, these brown ones, these my balloon pants. And I was like, I'm not gonna do that. But then I decided I want a blue pair, so now we're gonna do that. I wanna learn how to make these. I'll insert better clips of like showing them, but I think I wanna make a few adjustments. One of the adjustments I wanna make is, I wanted the fabric to be more stiff, so the ones I make, they're super comfy, and I do care that they are comfortable. It's very like flowy, drapey cotton, so like it doesn't really hold its shape as much, and I want to make the waistband not as lumpy, so like when I put my shirt over it, it's like you can kind of see the lumps, and I think I want that waistband area to be as flat as possible. And I found out for myself that I need elastic clothes. I need stretchy clothes. I need clothes that can move and change with me. But I do like the like zipper fly look of jeans, and so I think I'm gonna do like belt loops to kind of make them look more like that, and maybe some like top stitching, decorative top stitching to make it look like there's a fly, but not really. It's based off of this Pinterest picture. I've been loving it for a while now. This fabric is still pretty thin, but I think it does have more kind of like structure to it. Like, I don't know if this is a good test, but when you like hold it up like this, it holds, versus these, like if I hold it up, it just kind of falls. Like it's still pretty thin, light, super soft, and I need to feel the fabric in person. Like, I know you can order swatches online, but I can't wait. One, I'm an impatient bitch. Second, I need like a big enough swatch so I can like put it on my arm. I'm like a hairless mole rat. It's basically thinner than my mustache. Like I have a bigger mustache than I have hair on my arms and legs. So I feel everything. So even if there's like a little bit of like pilling or fiber sticking up, even things that get labeled, oh, like super soft, it's not soft to me. So I have to like do this test where I have enough fabric to like put it on my arm and like rub it, and if it's still soft, then it's soft. And then I also got some elastic. I'm making this up. I got some elastic. And when I went to the store, okay, I like Mood. Like, it has a lot of options, definitely more than Joann's, but not gonna lie, sometimes they don't just have normal apparel fabric at Mood. Like, not everyone's an FIT student. I'm just here to make pants. I only sew, and I've only learned how to sew on my own. So like through YouTube videos and just looking stuff up on my own. Like, I never went to school for it, so like I don't really know all the technical terms. When I was at Mood, like I know he's just doing his job, and he's probably like, bruh. It was a super busy day, so like I can't blame him. When I asked like where the elastic was, there was only like the section that said like elastic trimming, and it was just like trim. So there's like a bunch of ribbons and like beaded applique things. So I thought these were all like decorative. Like I wanted the regular ass elastic that goes inside. It's not pretty, don't make it expensive. Just I asked like, do you have any elastic that's not trimming? And he goes, I don't even know what you said. Like, what elastic? It's all trimming. And I was like, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't know. Daddy chill. I also got this thread. I wanted some contrast stitching, and I like that classic like gold top stitching that I'm gonna do to make it look more like jeans, even though it's basically gonna be like elastic cotton pants. I got 3 yards of this cotton down. It's like a dark blue. Altogether, this was about 50 bucks. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wash this. So you always wanna make sure that whatever fabric you're getting, especially if it's a natural fiber like cotton, that you pre-wash it first. And usually I just wash my clothes on, and you should be washing them on cold and tumble drying low, or just like no heat or low heat, or even better, like hang drying them, because the heat and just like the motion of the dryer kind of beating on your clothes and throwing them around is not good long term. Like, it works fine if you have like polyester clothes because they're like forever plastics, like, but when I'm making something like this, I do like to aggressively wash and dry the fabric. So if it does ever shrink for whatever reason, later if I just forget and put this accidentally like in the dryer and heat it up at all, I know it's not gonna shrink. Let's go do that. I had to figure out how I was going to make these. So first I looked at previous patterns I had used. I knew what I wanted to make, but not how, but I guess I just had to use my brain, which was hard. Okay, now that I have that figured out, first you want to take some measurements. First measurement will be around your hips and butt. This is to make sure that the waistband is wide enough to slip on and off. My measurement was about 90 centimeters, and don't ask me why I'm using centimeters, I just felt like it. I see you looking. Now you're going to measure from where you want the waistband to hit. For me, that's about mid-rise to the length that you want. And then finally, you want to measure down to where you want your crotch inseam to be. Measure from where you want your waistband to hit to how far down you want the crotch to be. For me, that was about 11 inches. Then using a big piece of paper, we are going to draw out our pattern. Draw a line the length of your pants. We will work off this length. So for me, that was 87 centimeters. Then, on a line perpendicular to our pants, I will measure out 1/4 of our butt waist measurement we took. For me, my measurement was 90 centimeters, so I will mark a length of 22.5 centimeters. Then, on one end of the waist measurement, I marked about 1 centimeter above and connected it on a diagonal to the other end of our waist. This will make a subtle scoop effect at the waistline. This is also optional. I used a ruler to straighten it out and then marked another perpendicular line at the bottom. For the crotch, we will draw a line from the waistband, the length of the crotch and seam measurement we took. For me, that was 11 inches. Then draw another perpendicular line from the end of that line about 3.5 to 4 inches long. From there, I freehanded a subtle curve shape for our front crotch, and unless you have a puffy cooch, this does not have to be that steep. Then, from the end of our crotch, I connected the bottom to the crotch with a perpendicular line. Now, measure an inch down from the end of our crotch seam and draw a perpendicular line the desired width of your pant leg. For me, that was 15 inches. Then connect the waistband with a diagonal line. This will give it a more tapered look to minimize bunching with the elastic at the top. Then, at the bottom of our pants, I want to have a cuff roughly 2 inches wide, so here I'm measuring 2 inches from the bottom of my pant length and drawing a line connecting those points. Then I found the midpoint of the pant leg and marked there. Then I wanted my cuffs to be 9 inches wide, so I marked 4.5 inches from that midpoint on each side. I chose this width for the bottom hem because I wanted to make sure when the hem rested on my shoes, it wouldn't droop too much over and touch like the gross city streets. Then I extended those points to the bottom length. Then I marked the midpoint of my cuff on both ends and sort of freehanded this sort of balloon shape of my pants to those points. I wanted to have my outer seam to curve more steeply than the inseam. You can draw these however you like and take the curve up further even. From there, I wanted to add an extra seam allowance for a bottom rolled hem. I add an extra 1 1/4 inch so I have enough fabric to do a wide double rolled hem. And then lastly, we want to go all the way around and measure about 1 centimeter from our pant leg shape to add our seam allowance. Do this all the way around except for the bottom because we already added that extra fabric for the rolled hem. Then connect all the points and we have our final front pant leg pattern piece. This is the most complicated part of the drafting process, trust me. Now we're going to cut it out and then we will use this piece also to draft our back leg pant pieces. So for that, we're going to trace out our front leg piece as is. My paper is on a roll, so it was curling badly and needed to be weighed down. But after that, the only change we will make to the back piece is the crotch drop shape. If you have a fat ass, this part is important. Make the curve steeper so it will have more room to wrap around your booty. Then cut out your back leg piece. Okay, so now we're going to make the waistband, and it's literally just a big rectangle. But since my elastic is 5 centimeters wide, I'm going to draw a rectangle the length of my butt waist measurement with a width of 5 centimeters plus seam allowances all the way around. For me, the dimensions were 7 centimeters by 92 centimeters, and you'll cut that out as well. We're going to make another rectangle, and this will be for the belt loops. For this piece, just cut out a rectangle 2.5 centimeters by 40 centimeters to make 5 belt loops. Lastly, we're going to adjust our front leg piece to make our slash pockets. So first you want to measure 6 centimeters from the outer leg seam and then about 15 centimeters down from the top of the outer leg seam. Then draw the shape you would like your pocket to be. I did this subtle curve to mimic regular jeans, and make sure your hand can fit between these points because it will be your pocket opening. Then measure out 13 centimeters from the bottom of your pocket shape on the outer seam and then 5 centimeters from the top of your pocket shape on the waistband. These lengths will be where we anchor the pocket to our waist and side seams. Then you're going to draw your pocket. As you can see, I changed my mind several times about the shape. Then you're going to take some tracing paper and trace around both the pocket shape and side and top seam allowances. If you haven't already, add seam allowances to your pocket. Then I'm going to add a seam allowance to our pocket opening and trace another piece following the waist, side, and pocket opening seam allowances and the pocket itself, like so. Cut these two pieces out and you have your pocket pieces. Then finally, on our front pant leg, cut where we drew our pocket opening seam allowance. Then clean up your big mess. It's the next day. Today we're going to cut all the pieces out. So these are washed and cleaned, and my fabric didn't need to be ironed, so I'm just gonna cut it out. So yeah, let's get started. We're going to start with cutting out our front leg pieces. To do this, fold your fabric in half and using scissors or a rotary knife, cut out two pieces. It's important you cut on folded fabric so you have two opposite pieces, if that makes sense. Then I just continued with the rest of the pieces, cutting one waistband and belt loop piece, and then double layering like we did for the front leg pieces for the back leg. I got sweaty. Now, for the pockets here, ignore what I did and just cut out two of each pocket piece with the main fabric because I tried to be clever and save fabric, sectioning it with scraps, but then I had to redo it because you could see the lining fabric peek out and it was just ugly. So this is what you should have in the end. We're going to start with attaching our front slash pockets. To do this, take your smaller shape pocket piece and outer seam of your front leg piece and sew right sides together. Then sew our curved lace flat. We're going to cut out little triangles from our seam. I forget what this is called, but make sure you don't accidentally cut your stitches. Then we're going to zigzag stitch along our seam to close the raw edges like this. Then turn your pocket piece out and we're going to understitch on our pocket and through our seam, making sure you catch the seam on the back side. It'll look like this, and just make sure the inner fabric isn't seen from the front. Then to give the pockets more jean look, we're going to do 2 parallel decorative top stitching. Just do a straight stitch on the edge of the pocket and another 1 centimeter away from the other. Just gotta change my thread and make sure you go slow. Then take your bigger pocket piece and right sides together, clip and sew along the curved edge of the 2 pocket pieces, making sure not to sew on the straight ends. So straight stitch and close raw edges. Then we're going to sew the straight ends of our pocket with our front leg piece like so, sewing a little less than 1 centimeter from the raw edge. This will make sure our pockets are nice and secure to our front leg so we can treat it as one big piece. Do this for the other leg and now you have 2 front pockets. Now take both front pieces and align the crotch seams right sides together and sew and serge 1 centimeter away from the raw edge. To make the front look more like a traditional jean fly, we're going to do some decorative top stitching. On the front, we're going to understitch at the seam like we did with our pockets and make sure our seam is pushed towards the left leg, making sure to catch the seam underneath as we sew. Then taking some Tailor chalk, we're going to make a faux zipper fly. So measure about 16 centimeters from the top edge along our center seam. Then about 4 centimeters to the right of our center seam to create this half U shape to mimic a fly. Here I'm just freehanding the shape.
and we'll do 2 parallel top stitches along this line. Then we're going to do a second parallel top stitch to our center seam and have it start about 1 centimeter above our fly, going all the way down. Then we're going to sew a tack between these 2 lines. To do that, we're going to sew a very short zigzag stitch between the 2 lines, set your length to 0.2 and width to 2 millimeters. For those who don't know what tacks are, they're practical stitches to reinforce areas where there might be constant pulling, such as the bottom of our zipper fly. It'll look like something like this. Now let's work on the back leg pieces. First, we're going to sew the 2 back leg pieces right sides together along the crotch seam like we did for the front pieces, making sure to stitch and serge the edges. Now to spruce up the back as well, first we will again top stitch along the center seam, making sure the seam is pushed towards the left leg as well. Then we'll do a second one parallel to that. To make the pants look more jean-like, we're going to do a subtle V-shaped top stitching, so measure about 2.5 inches from the top along the center seam, and then 1 inch from the top on each end. Then use a ruler to connect these points and sew 2 parallel top stitches following that line. I decided in the middle of this I want to make back pockets, so let's make those pieces now. First, draw a square that's 6 by 6 inches, and then on one end, add an extra 3/4 inch to be the seam allowance for the top of our pocket. Then at the bottom, mark on each side about 1/2 inch from the bottom and the middle of the square and create this wide V shape. Then add 1/4 inch all the way around except for the top for seam allowances and cut out 2 pieces. To finish the top, we're going to fold over 2 times 1 centimeter thick, iron down, and do 2 parallel top stitches at the top. Then to attach the pockets, serge the rest of the sides and fold over 1/4 inch and iron all the way around. I decided to embroider this little flower on one of the pockets for decoration, but add whatever you'd like or not like. To attach, do 2 parallel top stitches all the way around except for the top. I sort of eyeballed the position, but kept it a good 1.5 inches away from the other top stitching we did. Finally, to reinforce the pockets, we're going to tack along the tops of each pocket edge, and the back is done. Now here we're going to test fit before we sew it all together. So with right sides together, baste the inseam and outer seams together to try on. Seem pretty good to me, so let's keep going. Go back and take out those base stitches we did. This part takes forever. And then when we sew the inseam together, we start at the top at the crotch and go down one leg and repeat again for the other. This makes sure our bottom hems line up. Stitch and serge. Then open up your pants to the inseam we just did, and we're going to do 2 parallel top stitches along the seam like we've done before, making sure we push the seam towards the back of our pants and catch the seam underneath as we sew. Now sew and serge the side seam, starting again from top to bottom. Then making sure that the side seams are pushed towards the back of the pants, top stitch again close to the seam, making sure to catch the seam in the back. And don't forget to clip these little triangles where the seams curve so it has leeway to stay flat. Next, we're going to attach our waistband, so fold the waistband piece in half right sides together and sew and serge together 1 centimeter away from the edge. Push the seam to one side and top stitch it down as well. When I lined the waistband up to my pants, it was a bit too small, so to fix that I'm going to do a couple tiny darts at the front. To do this, I pinched about 2 centimeters of fabric at the top and created this long triangle fold and sewed the pinched fabric to itself. If this isn't making sense, there are other tutorials that explain this way better than me. After that, you're going to iron them flat and now your waistband is the same length. Then, to attach the waistband with right sides together, insert the pants into the waistband piece, sew together 1 centimeter away from the raw edge all the way around. Then turn the waistband right side out and fold in the raw edge twice to cover that raw seam we just made. Steam and pin all the way around, but when sewing your top stitch, leave about a 1-inch hole open to be an entrance for our elastic, like so. We will top stitch again at the top of the waistband to neaten up the waistband and to make it more jean-like. Now to make some belt loops. Take your belt loop strip and on the wrong side fold in the edges in the middle and then fold again to make a flat noodle shape. We will top stitch at each edge. When sewing such a skinny, thick piece of fabric, my trick is to fold another bigger chunk to support the foot as it runs through the machine, like so. Measure out your desired belt loop length and cut as many as you want. To make them equal, I use the previous one as a guide to cut the rest. Then you're going to fold the ends down and tack them down to the waistband at both ends. The spare chunks of fabric came in handy here too, and this is what it should look like. Now take your elastic and measure out around where you want the pants to land and how tight you'd like your elastic. Keep in mind the fabric is thick too, so don't make the elastic too tight. Then to insert the elastic, we'll use a safety pin trick and attach a pin on one end and pin the other end of the elastic at the entrance of that hole we left in the waistband, and now it's just sort of using the safety pin as a grip and pulling it all the way around, and this part took forever, so be very patient. Now test fit it, see how you like it, and make sure it's not too tight or too loose. Then once you're happy with the length, use Tailor chalk to mark where you'd like to attach the two ends together, cut and use a zigzag stitch with a short length to attach the two, similar to how we tack. Now once that's inside, we're going to close up the hole with a top stitch, and when you do this, pull the fabric tight as it runs through the machine. Don't yank it forward, just pull it taut. Then to make the waistband lay more flat, I'm going to top stitch around the middle of the waistband, making sure to stop and start around the belt loops. Again, pull tight, but don't yank. Then we're going to hem the bottom pant legs by rolling up the edge twice like we did for the waistband, ironing, pinning, and top stitching an inch away from the edge all the way around. I barely had enough of the top stitch thread. Finally, you can add any other decorations you'd like, such as buttons, patches, embroidery prints, etc., but I wanted to add a button at the top to make it look more like a real zipper fly. After I decided which one I wanted, I marked first with Tailor chalk where I wanted the button, then created a double thread needle. To tie the button to the pants, I first made a French knot where I wanted the button to be. Then it's just a matter of going through each buttonhole at least 5 times each way, crisscrossing each time, and then taking your thread and wrapping it around the thread beneath the button 10 times and tying it off. And you're done.
Please tell me now. I'm feeling low, so let me know I'm in it to the end. Love fading out, I'm falling apart. I can't begin searching to saturate a feed. All these two drowning